Hello and welcome to The Thick of It, a Best of BFM special. I'm your host, Sonia. Best of BFM, or BOB, is a festival that shines a spotlight on students' projects from the Baltic Film Media and Arts School and Tallinn University from the past year. For 2 weeks, at our very own cinema hall, we show the projects which were made within the frames of the various BFM programs. The festival is then wrapped up with a gala where the best of the best in each nomination get to bring home an award. Right here at our show, we will be meeting the young students from different programs who were nominated for that award. And we'll be getting into the thick of it, hearing all about their project, the creative process, and also about their own personal experiences on set and within their BFM curriculum. Today, I will be speaking to Kenneth and VJ about their project Bad Tree, made as a part of the KinoEyes European Masters program. A moment before we get to it, let us watch a short clip from the film.
Kuule, saad tulla korra?
See on niiskusest. Mul vanemate majaga laguneb.
Hello, welcome to our very green studio, and today we're going to be speaking about your guys' project that you made as a part of the KinoEyes Masters. Your project, Bad Tree, is speaking about a young woman who has lost her father, and throughout the film we learn about the complicated relationship that they had through the motif of the forest. But before I give my own interpretation for it, I would love to hear what Bad Tree is. So what story does it tell, what message does it send, and what it is for you?
Well, it's about Karina, whose father just died, and she needs to return to her childhood home and place. And coming back, she needs to decide whether to sell the forest or not. But being there also reminds her of her childhood and her relationship with her father.
Which wasn't very nice. Yeah.
I think one of the main questions is how did you think of the connection between, the relationship of a daughter and a father and the forest, so like the Bad Tree? Was that something that was already in place, or is it something that you thought about later? How did that go?
Well, I think it's always there. There's always this connection with our personality and how we grew up, with our relationship with our parents. And Bad Tree shows this relationship, how we become who we love or hate when we were a child.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's also a representation that something needs to be removed to have the other things keeping alive and have healthiness to them.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
All right. I mean, it's still like, it's a very, very interesting. So did the forest come first, or the emotions, so the topics?
Well,
how was it?
I think it started with really the idea of the forest.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's really personally in my previous film, I also have this fascination of working with forest or mysticism and how this affects us humans.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
No, it has a long process. Like the first idea started almost like 6 months back before we actually started filming. And over every month it kept evolving. Initially it was more like external, as forest binding your emotion, and then later forest become just a space where you let your emotion, so it became more internal. Mm-hmm. So it evolved, like how should we create this connection with the forest, which also feels empathetic towards the character and not towards like forest as a binding force to it. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
And do you think, you guys filmed it in Estonia, right?
Yeah.
So do you think that the fact that it was here and not in some other place played a role in the narrative and in like the forest, or would it be the same in another place, or would it be different?
I feel that the filming in Estonia added to the narrative in terms of, because it's a different light and it's a different forest. So imagine if it would have been in Portugal with all the sunniness around it, and then that feeling which you feel with the character will not come, because the whole atmosphere helps the narrative to make you feel more. So definitely filming in Estonia helped the narrative. If we would do it in some other place, maybe it wouldn't feel the same. So
Yeah, makes a lot of sense when you put it like that. And you guys, how many people did you have on your team?
How many?
I mean, I think my team was the biggest, and like we kept shuffling on the days depending on what equipment we're using. But in total, including me, we were 12 people in the cinematography team.
What about you?
Yeah, I don't have the exact numbers for the whole production, but I think it's like a huge. We are many in the team.
Yeah, every day we were like 25 people on the set.
Yeah, but the core team is basically composed of 6 people from the KinoEyes program.
All right. So since the team is quite big, how so, and the topic is quite heavy. It's quite personal, even I could say. How was that message conveyed from person to person, and like how kind of did you feel like it added that there were like this big amount of people, or was it more complicated?
Well, I think it started maybe it's nice to start with us in KinoEyes, where there are 6 of us, and we have a writer, a director, cinematographer, sound, editor, and producer. And we had to spend time brainstorming the idea and discussing it among ourselves. And when we have this common understanding of how it's gonna be, even if not like totally, because each of us has our own interpretation and layers into this story, then we each department also had their own way of conveying the idea into their own people.
That is very, very cool. I think I will get more into your kind of own personal experiences within it and what kind of difficulties you faced. But before that, I think it's the appropriate time to watch a short clip from the film.
Kus sa niimoodi jooma õppisid? Sa tead, mida see su isaga tegi?
And we're back to our studio, and now I kind of wanted to expand a little more on your own personal experiences and possible growth within this project. So first, a very general question. What did you guys learn, and maybe what were the challenges that you had to overcome during the filming of this project?
I think for me it's really working with people from different background and sensibilities. It's like being the director is not really it's not only about putting your vision there and coming with that specific things that you really want to see on screen, but it's more on expressing the idea and trusting the people to use their skills and talents to make it. And I actually appreciate that it made the film more in-depth and meaningful, because it's like a collaboration of different people rather than like a single idea.
Yeah, for me, like it was a different film. So like finding the right way to shoot was very important. Understanding the team, understanding what he's thinking as my director, what kind of vision. So we had a very long process, almost a month of talking, like before we actually started filming. And actually that talking as a prep helped a lot, because like we spent countless hours in school, at my place, at our editor's Cosmin's place, discussing whatever you have in mind, and every small little detail. If you raise a question, just think about it, and even if you don't have an answer, think about it later. And while we were actually filming, we didn't have many things to talk. we were all like kind of like just with the eyes is like let's do this, and we all somehow knew because we found that right balance, right understanding of right tone, how to approach the nuances of the film. So yeah,
It sounds very cool that you guys were
Very good.
actually able to make it work in such a huge team. But yeah, I guess so. You were saying that you guys managed to kind of find the right tone to speak, to communicate the idea. Were there any times where you had miscommunications, or even looking at the final project, is there something that you feel like maybe should have communicated that better, or is something that I would like to change even in the film?
Yeah, I think it's always part of. It's always part of it. Like even if the film is finished, you see it again with a fresh perspective and see like which part of it I can do better. But also that's part of learning, which we may not apply to the film, but for our next projects.
That's excellent.
it's part of the growth, because the moment you actually stop filming, because you have been growing, the actually growth happens when you are actually filming. And it happens so fast, like in 1 week of filming, you have grown from what you were before to another level. So when you watch the film later, you have already grown from the idea where you actually started filming. So there's always that you want to do like, oh, I could have done this more, I could have done this thing. And there's always comes with filmmaking as a...
Filmmaking, I was going to say.
As a creative
it's
process,
very natural. So yeah, I kind of want to move on to ask about specifically the international environment since your degree. Well, first of all, I think would need an explanation of how your degree is structured. It is very, very unique. It takes place over a few places. So how does that work? How does one, start studying in KinoEyes? What do you do basically?
So, I think we are, as I've said earlier, there are like 6 departments, like directing, writing, producing, editing, cinematography, and sound.
design,
And there are 4 people in each department, and we're like from different countries around the world. And what happens in our second year is they group us into 4 teams, and each team goes into different countries: Portugal, Scotland, Ireland, and Estonia.
So there are 4 film schools in part of KinoEyes as a consortium in 4 different countries: Ireland, Scotland, Portugal, and Estonia. And everybody starts in Portugal because everybody comes together, all 24 people in one classroom. You connect, you discuss, you do small assignments, you make one short, and that's how you start to understand. And then you start to divide. Then half of the team, 12 people, come to Estonia, the technical department, the sound, editing, and the cinematography, and the writing, producing, and directing goes to Scotland. And then for the second year, you choose, like, each person from each department has to form into a team into one school. So one cinematographer here, one cinematographer in other, like, it's how it's structured.
Yeah.
And for you, your team specifically, how did you guys come together? Was it something that was like very obvious and natural, or was it a long process?
I think it's more of selecting which country you want to be where. And well, honestly, we didn't choose each other, I guess.
Yeah, the idea was to choose to create this, but it somehow happened with we choosing the place and forming a team based on that. So like I always wanted to come to BFM because I heard out of all the 4 film schools, BFM has the most rigorous training for cinematography. And I was like, okay, for me traveling 6,000 kilometers away from home, I want the rigorous training. I want the maximum out of my program. And so I was like, my idea was to come to BFM and give my best.
Yeah, and personally, I think I am happy with the team and the country where I am, because I am able to be with people who challenge my idea and the things that I thought I knew, and it really helped me grow. Yeah.
That's actually very great to hear that you guys had this freedom to kind of, choose the place that you want to go to, and you did your prior research as well. In terms of the specific assignments that you're given within the curriculum, how much kind of freedom or limitations do you have, and how much do you think, what are the skills that you're gaining from each assignment? And can you like break down a little bit of what you did maybe before, and like what are you gonna do next within that program?
I mean, in terms of freedom and limitation, I don't think there is any limitation which we face in terms of the creative flow of thoughts. There is bit limitation which comes with student projects, that there is always a certain budget and you have to work within that budget. But since we are all students and trying to evolve, like we help each other, so that budget doesn't really affect because the equipment is provided, the crew is formed and everything. So the whole idea is to have that idea on paper to the screen. And like my second semester here, I did the dance film, which was completely new as a medium for me. But it helped me grow so much that I became observant to small, tiny details. Like flowing water is a form of movement, can also be considered choreographic thing. So, I mean, each stage, each assignment which has been given to us somehow helped us to think more and to push more and widen my horizon of creativity.
That's very cool. It's actually wonderful. Thank you guys for joining me today. It was so great to hear. I would love to learn more about it, and I'm sure our viewers also would like to hear more about the program and the film. And for now, I think it's a good time to watch a short BTS clip from the shooting of Bad Tree. There we have it. I was happy to speak with Kenneth and BJ about their film Bad Tree today. To hear more about different projects, check out the other interviews from the thick of it, and to learn about the various programs within BFM, make sure to visit the Tallinn University website. Then maybe you'll be the next one to join us in our studio. Keep your eyes out for the upcoming Pop Gala already on June 13th. I was your host Sonia, and thank you for joining me today.